The large spaceship named Harbinger moved slowly into orbit around the blue planet. The ship was bright against the darkness of space. Captain Do-hyun Kim stood by the big window, watching as the alien world grew bigger. This was the first time humans had traveled so far from Earth to meet aliens. As the leader, Do-hyun felt very worried about doing a good job. "We have arrived at the planet, Captain," said Lieutenant Ji-ho Park from his seat at the front of the bridge. Ji-ho looked at the many screens in front of him. "Our tests show we can breathe the air there. We also see signs of people living in the north part of the planet. They do not seem to have modern tools or machines." Do-hyun nodded his head. He turned to another crew member, a woman with short black hair. "Have they answered our messages, Officer Lee?" Communications Officer Han-bit Lee looked up from her screen and shook her head. "No, sir. Nothing yet. If they have radios, they are not using them to talk to us. Or maybe they do not want to talk to us," said Science Officer Soo-min Choi in a quiet voice. She kept looking at her screen where lots of information was moving past. "The life forms down there look somewhat like humans, but with big differences. Their bodies are cooler than ours and they can see very well in the dark." Do-hyun walked to the middle of the room where his team sat. The lights from the screens made their faces look blue in the dim room. "We will follow our plan. I will go down to the planet with Dr. Choi, Security Chief Taewon Kang, and language expert Jae-yoon Yoon. We will take the small shuttle ship in the morning when the sun rises there." When the meeting ended, Do-hyun saw that Soo-min looked worried. "What is it, Doctor? You can speak freely." "Captain, the aliens have built simple temples and live in groups, but their tools are very basic. The strange thing is we can see signs that they once had better technology but lost it somehow. They have gone backward instead of forward." Do-hyun rubbed his chin, thinking. What could make that happen? A big storm? A sickness? "We do not know," Soo-min replied. She pushed some buttons on her screen to show Do-hyun some pictures of the alien buildings. "But this might be why they have not answered our messages. They might be afraid of new things they do not understand." Do-hyun looked back at the planet turning slowly below them. It was beautiful, with swirling white clouds over blue oceans and green-purple land. "Then we will have to show them that they do not need to be afraid of us." He did not know then how wrong he would be. The next morning, the small shuttle ship flew down from the Harbinger. It landed softly in an open field about 2 kilometers from the nearest alien town. The sun was just coming up, making long shadows across the strange landscape. Plants that looked like trees but with purple leaves moved gently in the wind. "The air is good to breathe," Soo-min said, looking at her small testing machine. "It has a bit more oxygen than Earth does. I do not see any germs or small things that could make us sick." Do-hyun checked his own equipment one last time. "Remember, our rules. Keep your weapons hidden. Do not use them unless we have no choice. We are visitors here, not invaders." Jae-yoon was working with a small box that hung around her neck. "This translator will start to learn their language once we hear them speak. It should help us talk with them after a short time." The 4 humans walked carefully through the forest of strange spiral-shaped trees. As they got closer to the town, they could see buildings made of something like clay or mud. The buildings were simple but made with care. Smoke came from fires in the middle of the town, and figures moved around doing morning tasks. Then the aliens saw the humans. What happened next was sudden and alarming. A high, sharp sound, partly like a whistle and partly like a scream, echoed through the town. The aliens, who had slim bodies with silvery blue skin and large eyes without pupils, began running to their homes. Some fell down on the ground, pressing their faces into the dirt. "They are very scared of us," Taewon said. His hand moved toward his hidden weapon. "No weapons," Do-hyun ordered firmly. "Jae-eun, can you understand anything they are saying?" The language expert frowned at her translator device. "They keep saying the same thing over and over. It sounds like they are calling us sky demons or heaven destroyers. The translation is not perfect yet." Do-hyun took a slow step forward. He raised his empty hands to show he had no weapons. "We come as friends," he said in a calm voice. He knew the aliens could not understand his words, but he hoped they would understand that he meant no harm. One alien, who was taller than the others and wore special clothes that made it look important, slowly walked toward the humans. It carried a long stick decorated with symbols that looked like the ones on the buildings in the town. Moving very carefully, it used the stick to draw a circle in the dirt. Then it placed a small stone in the middle of the circle. "I think that stone stands for their world," Suman whispered. The alien leader then put 4 smaller stones around, the first one. Finally, it placed a larger stone some distance away from the circle. Do-hyun knelt down to look closely at what the alien had made. "Is this supposed to be their solar system? Their sun and planets?" Sumin nodded. "That is impressive. They know a lot about space for people who do not have modern tools." The alien leader then pointed at the humans, then at the distant stone that might represent Earth, and made a wide sweeping motion across the circle of stones. "They understand we come from far away," Jaehyun said. "I think they are asking why we have come here." Do-hyun copied the alien's movements to show he understood. Then he slowly held out his hand, palm facing up, toward the alien leader. After waiting a moment, the alien held its hand, which had 6 fingers, above Do-hyun's hand. They did not touch, but it was a sign of greeting. It was a start. A small understanding between 2 very different kinds of people. The humans did not know that this small, fragile connection would soon face a terrible test. They did not know that everything would change in ways none of them could imagine. And they did not know that within weeks, Captain Do-hyun Kim would make a choice that would change how these aliens thought about humans forever. 7 days had passed since the humans first met the aliens. Captain Do-hyun Kim sat on a flat rock, watching the alien children play near the edge of the village. The aliens, who called themselves the Nari, were still afraid of the humans. But each day they grew a little less scared. "They are learning that we will not hurt them," said Jaehyun, the language expert. She sat next to Do-hyun with her translator device in her hands. "The translator is working better now. I can understand about half of what they say." Do-hyun nodded. "What have you learned about them?" "They call their leader Yoon. He is the one who first drew the solar system for us. He leads their group and speaks to their gods for them." Jaehyun pointed to the large building in the center of the village. "That is their temple. They go there to pray each morning when the sun rises." The village was made of about 50 round buildings. The walls were made of a hard mud-like material that dried in the sun. The roofs were made of long purple leaves from the spiral trees. In the center of the village was a large open area where the Nari cooked food on open fires and held meetings. Sumin walked up to them, holding her testing device. "Captain, I have been studying their food and water. It is safe for us to eat their fruits, but we should not eat their meat. It has proteins that might make us sick." "Good work, Doctor," Do-hyun said. "What else have you learned?" "The Nari live about twice as long as humans. Some of them are over 200 years old." Sumin looked at her notes. "And they can see colors we cannot see. That is why their art looks strange to us. They paint with colors beyond what human eyes can see." Taewon, the security chief, stood guard nearby. He still did not fully trust the Nari. "Captain, we should be careful. Just because they seem peaceful does not mean they are. We are only 4 humans here. If they wanted to hurt us, they could." "I understand your concern," Do-hyun said, "but we must show trust to build trust." Just then, Yoon, the Nari leader, walked toward them. He carried 2 bowls of a steaming drink made from local plants. With slow, careful movements, he handed one bowl to Do-hyun. "This is welcome drink," Yoon said in broken human language. He had been learning from Jae-yoon. "For friends." Do-hyun smiled and took the bowl. "Thank you, Yoon." Using the translator, Jae-yoon asked, "Why were your people so afraid when we first came?" Hun's large eyes blinked slowly. He spoke in his language, and the translator converted his words. "The old stories tell of others who came from the sky long ago. They brought great pain to our world. Many Nari died. We call this time the Great Darkening. The old stories say the sky people would return one day." Do-hyun frowned. "Other aliens visited your world before us?" Nodded. "Long ago. Before I was born, before my grandfather was born, they came in skyships like yours. They brought strange tools, then the ground shook, the sky turned dark, and many Nari died. Sumin leaned forward, very interested. This might explain why their civilization went backward. Some disaster happened when the other aliens visited. We want to learn more about these other visitors, Do-hyun said to Yoon. Can you show us anything from that time? Yoon seemed unsure but finally nodded. I will show you, but first we must make peace offering. Later that day, Do-hyun and his team followed Yoon to the temple. Inside, the walls were covered with paintings. Some showed the daily life of the Nari. Others showed strange beings coming from the sky. These are not human, Sumin whispered, studying the paintings. Look at the shape of their heads, like upside-down triangles. And they have 3 arms, not 2. The paintings told a story. First, the strange aliens came in ships. They met the Nari and gave them new tools. The Nari built bigger buildings and made new machines. Then the aliens took the Nari deep underground. In the next paintings, the ground was breaking open. The sky was dark and many Nari were dead or dying. What happened? Do-hyun asked Yoon. The visitors dug deep into our world. They woke something that should have stayed sleeping. When they saw what they had done, they left us. They promised to return and fix it, but they never came back. Yoon touched one of the paintings sadly. Half of all Nari died. We stopped using the visitors' tools. We went back to the old ways. Later, as the human team walked back to their shuttle, they talked about what they had learned. Those aliens must have been mining or looking for something. Underground, Sumin said. They might have caused an earthquake or woke up a volcano. Or worse, Taewon added. The paintings showed something coming out of the ground. What if they released something, a disease or a creature? Whatever happened, Do-hyun said, it makes our job harder. The Nari are just starting to trust us. We need to show them we are not like those other aliens. That night, Do-hyun called the Harbinger, the main ship that waited in space above the planet. Captain, we have detected something strange, said Ji-ho, who was in charge of the ship while Do-hyun was on the planet. Our sensors show unusual energy readings coming from deep underground about 10 kilometers from your position. The energy is growing stronger. What kind of energy? Do-hyun asked, suddenly worried. We are not sure. It does not match anything in our database, but it is powerful and getting more powerful each day. Do-hyun looked out the window of the shuttle at the peaceful Nari village in the distance. Keep monitoring it. I want daily reports. The next morning, Do-hyun found a small group of Nari children waiting outside the shuttle. They were holding bowls of purple fruits. The smallest child, a little girl with silver-blue skin, stepped forward and held out her bowl to Do-hyun. For Sky Friend, she said in simple human words that Jae-yoon had taught her. Do-hyun smiled and took a fruit. Thank you. As he ate the sweet fruit, Do-hyun felt hopeful. Maybe they could build real trust with the Nari. Maybe humans could help them in ways the other aliens had not. But deep underground, something was waking up. Something the other aliens had left behind. Something dangerous. And it was growing stronger every day. 2 weeks had passed since the humans first landed on the planet. The Nari were now used to seeing Do-hyun and his team. Some even came to visit the shuttle each day, bringing food and small gifts. Do-hyun was in the middle of a meeting with his team inside the shuttle when the ground shook. It was small at first, just enough to make the cups on the table rattle. Then it stopped. What was that? Taewon asked, standing up quickly. Just a small earthquake, Sumin said, checking her devices. Nothing to worry about. But Do-hyun was not so sure. Ji-ho, what do the ship sensors say about those energy readings underground? Ji-ho's voice came through the radio from the Harbinger up in space. Captain, the energy has grown 3 times stronger in the last day, and it seems to be spreading. That does not sound good, Do-hyun said. He turned to Jae-yoon. I need to talk to Yoon right away. We need to know more about what those other aliens did here. An hour later, Do-hyun sat with Yoon in the Nari temple. The old alien looked worried. The ground shake is a bad sign, Yoon said through the translator. The Old stories say it is how the hungry dark begins to wake. The hungry dark? Do-hyun asked. What is that? Yoon walked to a wall covered with old paintings. He pointed to one that showed a black shape rising from the ground. The visitors from long ago dug deep into our world. They found something sleeping. There, something old. They tried to use its power, but they could not control it. When it began to wake, they built a machine to keep it sleeping. But the machine is very old now. A machine? Soo-min asked, suddenly interested. What kind of machine? Where is it? Deep under the ground, Yoon said. In the Cave of Ancestors. No Nari has gone there since the Great Darkening. We need to see this machine, Do-hyun said. Can you take us there? Yoon looked scared. It is forbidden. The place is death. If the machine is breaking, Soo-min explained gently, the hungry dark might wake up again. We might be able to fix the machine, but we need to see it first. And thought for a long time. Finally, he nodded. I will take you. But we must hurry. When the ground shakes 3 times, it is too late. As if to make his point, the ground shook again, harder this time. Dust fell from the temple ceiling. Outside, the Nari began to cry out in fear. That is 2, Yoon said in a quiet voice. Do-hyun called the harbinger on his radio. Jiho, prepare the ship for emergency liftoff. If we give the signal, I want you, ready to evacuate as many Nari as you can fit on board. Yes, Captain, Jiho replied. But what about you? We are going to try to stop whatever is happening underground, Do-hyun said. If we fail, get these people to safety. The next morning, Do-hyun, Soo-min, and Taiwan followed Yoon and 2 other Nari into the forest. After walking for 3 hours, they came to a cliff face covered in vines. Yoon pulled the vines away to reveal a dark opening. The Cave of Ancestors, Yoon said, his voice shaking. The path to the machine. Taiwan turned on his light. The beam cut through the darkness, showing a tunnel that went deep into the cliff. On the walls were strange markings, part Nari writing and part something else. These symbols, Soo-min said, studying them. They match the alien writing in the temple paintings. The visitors wrote these. The group walked deeper into the tunnel. It went down and down, turning into stairs cut into the rock. The air grew warmer. After an hour of walking, they came to a large metal door. The visitors made this, Yoon said. No Nari hands shaped this metal. The door was huge, at least 5 meters tall and covered in alien writing. In the center was a round panel that glowed with a faint blue light. It still has power after all these years, Soo-min said in wonder. She scanned it with her device. This metal, it is not like anything we have on Earth, and the power source is unlike anything I have seen before. Can you open it? Do-hyun asked. Soo-min studied the door. I think this is some kind of lock. The symbols might be a code. She touched the glowing panel. It changed color, becoming green. Then, with a deep rumbling sound, the door began to slide. Open. How did you do that? Taiwan asked, surprised. I did not do anything, Soo-min said. It recognized my touch somehow. Maybe it can tell we are not Nari. Beyond the door was a huge room carved out of the rock. In the center stood a tall machine, like a tower made of the same strange metal as the door. Blue light pulsed up and down its surface. The light was getting faster and brighter, then dimmer, then bright again, like the machine was struggling to work properly. Around the base of the machine, the floor was cracked. Black liquid seeped through the cracks, giving off a smell like burning metal. The hungry dark tries to escape. Yoon whispered, backing away. The machine grows weak. Soo-min scanned the machine with her device. Captain, this is incredible. This machine is generating a containment field. It is holding back some kind of energy or matter. I cannot tell what it is, but it is powerful and seems to be alive in some way. Can you tell what is wrong with it? Do-hyun asked. The power source is failing, Soo-min said. It was meant to last for thousands of years, but something is draining it faster than it should be. Just then the ground shook again, much harder than before. Parts of the ceiling fell down. The black liquid began to bubble and spread faster across the floor. "That is 3, Yoon cried. "We must leave now." "If we leave, what happens?" Do-hyun asked. "The machine fails. The hungry dark escapes. All dies," Yoon said simply. Do-hyun looked at the failing machine, then at his team, then at the frightened Nari. "We are not leaving. We are going to fix this." "How?" Taiwan asked. "We do not understand this technology." "Sumin, can you figure out how to stabilize the power source?" Do-hyun asked. Sumin studied her readings. "Maybe. There seems to be a control room on the other side of this chamber. I might be able to reroute the power flow, but I would need time. Time is what we do not have," Do-hyun said as more black liquid poured through the widening cracks. "Taiwan, help me find a way to that control room. Yoon, you and your people should go back to the surface. Tell the other Nari to move away from the village just in case." Yoon looked at Do-hyun with his large, strange eyes. "You would risk your life for the Nari? After we feared you?" "That is what humans do," Do-hyun said simply. "We help when we can." As Yoon and the other Nari left, Do-hyun, Sumin, and Taiwan made their way around the edge of the chamber, avoiding the spreading black liquid. They found a smaller door that led to a room filled with alien control panels. Many were dark, but some still glowed with different colored lights. "I can work with this," Sumin said, already connecting her device to one of the panels. "But it will take time to understand the system." "How much time?" Do-hyun asked. Before Sumin could answer, a terrible sound filled the chamber. It was like metal tearing and a deep, painful moan mixed together. The machine in the main chamber flashed bright blue, then went dark for several seconds before lighting up again. "It is failing," Sumin said, working faster. "We have minutes, maybe less." Do-hyun looked back at the door where the Nari had left. "Then we better work quickly." The control room shook as another quake hit, stronger than before. Sumin worked quickly at the alien control panel, her fingers moving over strange symbols. Sweat ran down her face in the hot air. "I think I understand part of this system now," she said. "The machine creates a field that holds back the black substance. The aliens called it the Eater in their language." "The Eater?" Do-hyun asked. "What is it?" "From what I can tell, it is some kind of living energy. It was here before the aliens came, sleeping deep in the planet. When they dug down, they found and woke it up." Sumin pointed to a screen showing a diagram. "They built this machine to push it back down and keep it sleeping. But now the machine is failing." Taewon looked at the doorway where black liquid was starting to seep in. "What happens if it fully wakes up?" According to these readings, it would spread across the planet, eating everything. Plants, animals, people, everything. Sumin's voice was grim. "The whole planet would die." Do-hyun stared at the control panels. "How do we fix the machine?" Sumin pointed to a large panel in the center of the room. It had a clear section that showed broken parts inside. "The main control crystal is cracked. It needs to be replaced or fixed." "Do we have anything that could work?" Do-hyun asked. Sumin shook her head. "This technology is far beyond ours, but..." She hesitated. "There is one thing that might work. The aliens left a backup system, but it requires direct connection to the main core." "What does that mean?" Taewon asked. "It means someone would need to go inside the central chamber of the machine and manually connect the backup system." Sumin pointed to a small door behind the control panel. "That door leads to the core, but the radiation in there would kill a human in minutes." Do-hyun looked at the door, then at his team. "How long would it take to make the connection?" "Maybe 5 minutes, Sumin said. "But Captain, no one would survive." Another strong quake hit. Part of the ceiling fell down, narrowly missing them. From the main chamber came a loud, horrible sound, like something huge taking a breath. "It is waking up," Sumin whispered. "We are out of time." Do-hyun made his decision. "Show me what needs to be done." "Captain, no," Taiwan said, grabbing Do-hyun's arm. "There must be another way." Is there? Do-hyun asked Sumin. She shook her head sadly. Not in the time we have left. Do-hyun put a hand on Taewon's shoulder. Get back to the surface. Tell Jiho what is happening. If this does not work, get as many Nari onto the ship as you can. I am not leaving you, Taewon said firmly. That is an order, Chief, Do-hyun said. His voice was kind but firm. The Nari will need help. Our ship is their only chance if this fails. Taewon looked like he wanted to argue more, but another quake made the decision for him. A large crack opened in the floor between them. Go now, Do-hyun said, while you still can. With one last look at his captain, Taewon turned and ran back through the main chamber toward the exit. Sumin quickly showed Do-hyun what needed to be done. The backup crystal is in this case, she said, handing him a small metal box. You need to open the main core panel, remove the broken crystal, and insert this one. Then align the 3 control rods so they all point to the center. Do-hyun took the box. Sounds simple enough. The hard part is the radiation, Sumin said. Her eyes were wet with tears. It will be very painful. I understand. Do-hyun looked at the door to the core. Sumin, you should go too. I will stay until the last moment, she said. I can monitor the systems from here. I will tell you if it works. Do-hyun nodded. He took a deep breath and walked to the small door. It slid open when he touched it. Inside was a narrow passage that led to a bright blue light. Good luck, Captain, Sumin said softly. Do-hyun stepped into the passage. The air felt thick and hot, like breathing through water. His skin began to tingle, then burn. But he kept walking. At the end of the passage was a round room. In the center floated a large crystal, cracked down the middle. Blue light pulsed from it, growing weaker with each pulse. Around the crystal were 3 metal rods. They were pointing in different directions, no longer aligned. This was what he needed to fix. I am at the core, Do-hyun called back to Sumin. His voice already sounded weak. The panel to access the crystal should be on your left. Sumin's voice came through, distant and breaking up. Do-hyun found the panel and opened it. Inside was a mess of broken parts. The main crystal was held in a metal frame. With shaking hands, he carefully removed it. His fingers were already turning red, and he could feel blood running from his nose. The radiation was killing him, just as Sumin had warned. He took the new crystal from the box and placed it in the frame. It fit perfectly. As soon as it was in place, it began to glow with a steady blue light, stronger than the old one. Crystal is in place, Do-hyun said. His, voice was very weak now, and he had to spit blood before he could speak. Moving to the control rods. Each step was harder than the last. Do-hyun's vision was blurring and his body felt like it was burning from the inside. But he forced himself to move to the first rod. With all his strength, he turned it until it pointed at the crystal. Then the second. By the time he reached the third rod, he could barely stand. Almost done, he gasped. The readings are improving, Sumin called. The containment field is getting stronger. Keep going, Captain. With one final effort, Do-hyun grabbed the third rod and turned it toward the crystal. As soon as it was aligned, a wave of blue energy shot out from the crystal. The 3 rods began to hum and the blue light grew brighter and brighter. It is working, Sumin shouted. The field is rebuilding. The eater is being pushed back down. Do-hyun tried to answer, but no words came out. He fell to his knees, then to the floor. Through fading vision, he saw the black liquid that had seeped into the core room begin to pull back, as if afraid of the blue light. The machine was working again. The planet would be safe. The Nari would live. As darkness took him, Do-hyun thought of Earth so far away. He thought of his family who would never know how he died, and he thought of the Nari, who had feared him but who would now live because of what he had done. It was enough. In the control room, Sumin watched the readings with tears running down her face. The containment field was at full strength. The black energy that had been escaping was being pushed back deep into the planet. The earthquake stopped. But on her scanner, the life sign in the core room faded and then disappeared. Captain Do-hyun Kim, was gone. He had given his life to save an alien world that had once feared him. He had died alone, far from home, in terrible pain. But he had not hesitated, because that was what humans did. They helped when they could. 1 year had passed since Captain Do-hyun Kim gave his life to save the Nari planet. The tall grass on the hillside moved gently in the wind as Ji-ho Park, now Captain Park, stood looking at the stone monument. It was a simple thing, a tall piece of smooth rock with Do-hyun's name carved on it in both human and Nari writing. "The containment machine is still working perfectly," Suman said, standing beside him. "The energy readings are stable. The eater is sleeping deeply again and should stay that way for at least 1,000 years." Ji-ho nodded, his eyes still on the monument. "And the Nari? How are they doing?" "Very well," Suman said with a small smile. "They have started using some of our simpler tools. We taught them better ways to grow food and clean their water. Nothing that could wake up the eater again, but enough to make their lives better." From their place on the hill, they could see the Nari village below. It had grown larger in the past year. The buildings were stronger now, and a new temple stood in the center, larger than the old one. People moved about, working and talking and living their lives, not knowing how close they had come to the end. "Lieutenant Yoon sends her regards," Ji-ho said. "She wanted to come for the memorial, but she is busy training the new contact team for the Proxima mission." "And Chief Kang?" "Still blames himself for leaving," Ji-ho said sadly. "I told him Do-hyun ordered him to go, but he thinks he should have stayed." Suman touched the stone monument gently. "No one could have saved him, not even Taiwan. The radiation levels in that core room were too high. Do-hyun knew what he was doing. He made his choice." They fell silent as they saw a group of Nari walking up the hill toward them. Yoon led them, looking older now but still standing tall. The Nari carried small blue crystals in their hands, similar to the one Do-hyun had used to fix the machine. When they reached the monument, Yoon nodded respectfully to the humans. Then without a word he placed his crystal at the base of the stone. One by one, the other Nari did the same. Not a single word was spoken during this ceremony. "Why do they not speak?" Ji-ho asked quietly when the Nari had moved a short distance away. "It is their way of showing the highest respect," Suman explained. "They believe Do-hyun's spirit now lives in the world heart, watching over them. Their tradition says that true honor must be given in silence, so that the heart can hear what words cannot say." Jae-yoon, who had arrived at the hill just as the Yi ceremony ended, joined them by the monument. "Their language has changed," she said. "They have added a new word, Kim. In their language, it now means both protector and bridge between worlds. Many children born this year have been given names that use this word." Ji-ho looked surprised. "They named their word for protector after Do-hyun?" "Yes," Jae-yoon said. "And there is more. They no longer call us sky demons or heaven destroyers. Now they call us Kim Kin, which means people of Kim or family of the protector." As the sun began to set, the three humans watched the Nari return to their village. The blue crystals left at the monument began to glow softly in the fading light. "We leave tomorrow," Ji-ho said after a long silence. "Back to Earth to tell them what happened here." "What will you tell them?" Suman asked. "The truth," Ji-ho said simply. "That we found a world in danger, that we tried to help, that one of us gave everything so that others might live." "They might not understand," Jae-yoon said. "Some will ask, why a human died to save aliens who feared us. Then they will need to learn what Do-hyun knew," Ji-ho replied. "That life is life no matter what form it takes. That helping others is what makes us human." That night in the Nari village, a special ceremony took place in the new temple. The humans had been invited to watch but not to take part. This was for the Nari alone. The temple was lit only by the soft glow of the blue crystals. In the center stood a small machine the humans had helped the Nari build. It was a simple hologram projector that showed a slowly turning image of Earth. Yoon stood before his people and spoke. For the first time, he told the full story of what had happened in the deep caves. He told of how the human captain had walked into death without fear to save a people who had once hidden from him in terror. He told of how the human had fixed the great machine and pushed the eater back into its sleep. And he told of how, even as the burning light took him, the human had smiled, knowing the Nari would live. When Yoon finished speaking, he raised his hands. From this night forward, we speak his name only in silence, our greatest honor for our greatest friend. All the Nari bowed their heads. Though their lips moved, no sound came out as they said the name, Do-hyun Kim. The next morning, the humans prepared to leave. Their shuttle was ready, and the Harbinger waited in orbit above. They would return to Earth with their data, their experiences, and their loss. As they made final checks on the shuttle, a small group of Nari children appeared. They carried gifts for the humans, woven bags filled with fruit, small carved figures, and painted clothes. The children did not speak, but smiled and bowed as they gave their gifts. One small girl, the last in line, held up a simple drawing. It showed two figures holding hands, one human, one Nari. Above them was a blue light watching over both. Sumin knelt down and took the drawing. "Thank you," she said softly. The girl pointed to the blue light, then pointed up to the sky and then to her heart. The message was clear even without words. Do-hyun was still with them, watching over them from the stars and from within. As the shuttle lifted off, Jiho looked down at the village growing smaller below them. The Nari had gathered on the hillside, by the monument, watching them leave. Their faces were turned up to the sky, to the place their protector had come from. "Do you think we will ever come back here?" Jaehyun asked. "Yes," Jiho said. "Someday. And when we do, we will find friends waiting for us. Not because of anything we did, but because of what Do-hyun showed them humans could be." The shuttle rose, higher, breaking through the clouds into the clear blue sky. Behind them, a world continued to live and grow, because one human had been willing to die for people who were not his own, people who had feared him at first but who now whispered his name in sacred silence. And across the vast darkness of space, his story would travel back to Earth. The story of Captain Do-hyun Kim, who taught both humans and aliens the true meaning of humanity. It was a good legacy. It was enough. The end.